Hey, this is Josh for the Camera Project, and today I'm going to be talking about the Sandmarc Prolight Mini Kit with one RGB and one bicolor light. So let's talk about the basics. The kit comes with two lights, each one with their own diffuser, hot shoe or cold shoe mount, USB-C to charging cable, and a microfiber pouch. The lights themselves are small, and I mean credit card size small. The diffusion sleeve obviously makes them a bit bulkier, but still easily pack into any camera bag. Their claims for battery life are 90 minutes at full 100% brightness on bicolor and 60 minutes on the RGB. In terms of brightness, they claim 800 lux at 0.5 meters on the bicolor and 330 lux at 0.5 meters on the RGB. The bicolor will do color temperatures between 3000 and 6500 Kelvin, which will cover the tungsten to daylight spectrum plus a little more, and the RGB will do an impressive 1000 to 10,000 Kelvin. So those are the most important specs, but the real question is, what are the use cases for such a small light? Can it really light your scene and stand in for a much bigger and bulkier LED panel? And the answer is an unequivocal, it depends. So jumping out of just plain tech specs, I want to show you some use cases for this kit. So here it is as a key and fill light with the bicolor as the key light and the RGB as the fill. And this brings me to one little gripe I really have. I wish the RGB had a Kelvin mode so that it could more easily be matched to other lights by dialing in the Kelvin as opposed to the HSV, which, while certainly useful in certain situations, is less useful in standard film terms. So right now I haven't touched my ISO from the last setup. I was using a very large Cobb LED and a 36-inch parabolic softbox, so obviously these tiny little lights are not going to compete. But let's bump up the ISO a little bit on the camera from my base settings and see how they look. Okay, so here I am at ISO 500, and honestly it's not too bad. Now I do have a light stand in the frame. That's because I wanted to keep the framing more or less consistent between this shot and the last one so it could be a little more easily compared. But, you know, obviously I could rig this out of the frame pretty easily. It's just I have a desk right here, so it's a little trickier. The RGB light is right here on another light stand. So basically I have two light stands and two tiny lights that I can bring with me anywhere. And obviously I could switch out these light stands for something a lot more compact, like a, Gorilla Pod or something like that, that I could just put on a desk, and then I'm packing really light and small, and other than some pretty hard shadows I have right now in the background, this isn't looking too bad. I'm looking at an iPad monitoring the scene off the set here just so I could see what everything looks like, but honestly it's surprising me by how decent it looks. Now I could probably alleviate some of the hard shadows by bringing my lights a bit higher and further away, so let's take a quick look at that. So rather than doing a time-consuming setup here, I just decided to hold the bicolor light here. Now the only reason I'm not using the stand is because the stand I'm using here doesn't have a tilt arm on it, so it's just screwed right into the 1/4-20 on the light stand itself. The one I'm using for the bicolor does have the tilt arm, so I was able to tilt that down. Kind of got rid of those harsh shadows, and honestly, this is workable. I'm surprised. So if you're thinking of buying just one light, here is just the bicolor light, and this is what that looks like just out of frame. Now I'm balanced to 5500 Kelvin because that's what my main light was before, but it's bicolor, so I could do whatever I want. And I could also match room lighting, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, so sticking with the setup I had just a second ago, I have the bicolor on a light stand just right here. You can see the difference it's making, and just my overhead ceiling lights. So if I'm being practical about this, I would probably use this as an indoor setup if, budget and size were a constraint, or if I was traveling and I needed something, light and small, or really just a quick setup. This is that, and I could put it just out of frame, get some more light on me, rely on in-room lights. I think this would also be really nice if I was outdoors at night and needed to do some sort of on-the-street stuff. It actually takes me back to a camera project shoot we did in 2015 for the Fuji X-T10 it was. We were out in the East Village, and, the small lights like this just didn't exist then. We had a camera person, and they were holding a 9-inch LED panel with two Sony NP batteries on it, and it was just bulky. You know, I mean, it did the job for a run gun setup, but I remember his arms getting tired as we shot through the night. If these lights had existed then, it would have been a no-brainer to mix these lights with ambient street lights, dial in the right color temperature, and have no size or weight penalties. In fact, I was just doing a client shoot in Jamaica, and we were out on a boat at night, and our talent on the boat was getting harder and harder to see as it got darker. So I pulled the BiColor light out of my bag and had the producer hold it up for me high to illuminate the subjects, and it did a great job of mimicking a small overhead light on the boat. Unfortunately, I can't show that footage here, but it definitely met my needs, and I was able to throw it in my pack camera bag. So other than travel and run and gun and evening work, where would I put these lights to work in a real-world environment? And I think there are a few special scenarios that this would be great for. Product photography, for instance. When shooting relatively small objects, the small size of this light becomes less of a factor. As light size is proportional to the size of the subject, the RGB light lends itself to some particularly creative uses here. I was recently on set for a large TV commercial shoot, which used Unreal Engine to project a live background image onto huge LED scenes. This replaces traditional green screen technology to do a live composite of a real-world environment with this virtual background, and it gave me an idea. What if I did a miniature version of this with my computer screen as my backdrop? Okay, so let me explain this setup right now. I have my A7 III here, and it's pointed at my computer monitor. Now I chose this monitor because it's slightly less reflective than the actual iMac monitor is. I have a stock photo, kind of this futuristic background, opened in Photoshop. And you'll see why I chose to do it in Photoshop in a second. I have my big LED light pointed away from the computer just to give myself a little bit of light, and I'm going to show you this setup. Now, I have this small car sitting just on some boxes to raise it up, and it's on a black, shiny acetate. It will give me some reflections if I decide I want them later. Now, while most of this is going to be done in camera, there might be a little bit of compositing. We'll see what happens. I wanted a fairly deep depth of field here to make this somewhat realistic, even though obviously it's not a real car, and we're just sort of having fun. I'm shooting at f/16 right now, so I am at ISO 3200. It is what it is. I'm also going to put my camera on a 2-second timer so I can actually hit the shutter and then let it settle. Now right now it feels to me like the background's a little high. So, because I'm in Photoshop, I can just kind of move it down a hair. Better, maybe even a little bit more. And yeah, that's feeling closer. Now, let's get the car lined up with the road a little bit better. Now, 2-second timer. The background, because of the brightness of the screen compared to the brightness of the room, is way too bright. But again, because I'm in Photoshop, I could take care of that pretty easily. Now, there's a million ways I could do it. Throw a quick exposure on there. Now I am getting some glare, I think, from my big light, so let me just try shutting that off and seeing if that helps. Much better. Except I could see my car is now way too dark. So that's where our RGB light comes in. And this isn't just because I need the light, it's also because I want to match the color. This is really cool because I actually went into Photoshop earlier, I sampled a color from my background, and I dialed that hue number right into my light, and the saturation as well. The brightness is kind of neither here nor there. But now I have the same color light shining on my car that my scene is, which really helps to blend them together. Okay, so I'm going to dial in a few different settings, kind of getting my background and my car balanced for the right exposure time, the right brightness on the light. So now I'm just going to play around with my settings, kind of balance the car's lighting with RGB light here to the monitor's lighting, and just kind of get it feeling like it's in the same place, but knowing that I have the right color dialed in is huge. Okay, so wrapping up. What are my thoughts on the Sandmarc Prolight Mini Kit with one RGB and one bicolor light? And I think that they're really good. They have certain use cases. Would I use them as my go-to for a studio setup? Probably not, but as you can see right now, it's serviceable. But I would use it, especially in scenarios where I need to be light and on the move and inexpensive. And those are the great things about this, that it's really flexible, it has so many use cases, and you know, it's just great to have with you in your bag, especially if you're the kind of person who vlogs or is out on the street. It's just so much better than having to rely on just room light to always have one of these or two of these in your bag. And because of the size and weight here, there's really no penalty to just keeping it in your bag. Even battery life considered, you could always USB charge this thing, you know, as you're going between sets, or USB charge it as you're using it. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, leave us some comments, and let us know what you thought. And again, remember, please subscribe. Come on, do it.